Liam Cohen, first year in Jacksonville, coming over from Tampa Bay, where he was the offensive coordinator for Baker Mayfield. Now he gets a chance to try and turn around Trevor Lawrence, who's had kind of a tough go in his first couple seasons in the league. I mean, you can kind of throw the first season away, PJ. Urban Meyer, that was an absolute disaster in Jacksonville. Doug Peterson, better coach than Urban Meyer, obviously still not a whole lot of success. Trevor Lawrence does get a big contract recently, though, so he is the guy going forward in Jacksonville, and they certainly believe in him. It's just, I feel like we still have not hit the Trevor Lawrence expectations that we had for him coming out of college with how dominant he was at Clemson. It hasn't translated yet to the NFL, and I still think it's there for him. He just hasn't had the right personnel, whether that be coaches or players around him, where I think that could turn around this year with Liam Cohen.
Yeah, Kate, I really was never believe the hype on Trevor Lawrence. He was an awesome player at Clemson, but he was the undisputed next great player, and I just never quite got that vibe from him. He was such a better athlete than just about all those ACC teams that he would play, and his team was so dominant at Clemson that he obviously, when you get to the NFL, it's a completely different ball game. And like you said, it's tough, when the rookie year is like what he had with Urban Meyer, where you just feel like you're totally behind the eight ball. But then he bounced back and had a really good season with Doug Peterson, and it's just never really quite built off of that. I mean, what Liam Cohen did with Baker and the Bucs last year was really impressive, and I think that's what's got a lot of people excited this year. Is Lawrence is coming back from the injury, he's healthy, and now you have these two great weapons with Brian Thomas Jr., who definitely looks like a number one, and obviously Travis Hunter, who is an incredible player. Kate, I just don't like the Jags, though, this year because I'm not big on their offensive line. I still think their offensive line is below average, and I don't like this defense a lot either, and I'm still not a Lawrence guy. So, those are three pretty important things. I don't like the quarterback, I don't like the O-line, and I don't like the defense either. The division is so winnable. We were kind of touching on that when we were talking about the Colts in the first segment. And, I mean, the price at plus 310, is pretty juicy. And, again, they have so many playmakers on that offense. And with Liam Cohen, you want to buy the upside. I can't get there with Trevor Lawrence. We kind of, there are certain quarterbacks we just make excuses for, and because they were drafted high, and because we've seen potential, and because they were such great college players, we keep waiting for them to turn the corner, and maybe he's just like a Baker Mayfield type, maybe eventually he just starts to figure it out as he goes, maybe just get him in the right situation with the right OC, the right head coach, whatever. A lot of factors that can lead to a guy turning the page. I've never been a Trevor guy, Kate, and I'm still not there yet. Even though the Jags are doing everything they can and they're getting him these weapons, I still don't like the O-line, and I'm just still not a fan of Lawrence. So as enticing as that plus 310 is with the Jags, because it does feel like the Texans are definitely beatable in that division, I just don't think the Jags are the team to do it. So I'm really not betting them anyway this year, and if anything, I'd probably look under the win total on Jacksonville.
Ooh, PJ, we might be fighting for the next 20 minutes on this show because I like the Jags this year. And I hear you with the defense, with the offensive line. Those need to improve. They were not great last year. There's still a lot of question marks in those two areas. So I understand that. And what we saw with the Eagles winning the Super Bowl last year, the trenches, that's arguably the most important part in having success on both sides of the ball, especially offensively, to give your quarterback enough time. I just think that this combo of Trevor Lawrence with Liam Cohen, with an offensive-minded head coach, I'm counting on what happened with Baker Mayfield under Liam Cohen to kind of materialize once again in Jacksonville. And this be a year where Trevor Lawrence really takes a step forward because he does have the weapons now. You had De'Ami Brown as well, who for Washington last year, quiet throughout most of the season, came on the scene late in the year, and then in the playoffs had a great playoff performance. So more weapons on the outside. I think the changes that have happened in Jacksonville, even with the new GM, how they've operated and how they've approached this season, it gives me hope that there could be some positive change. Of course, still those concerns defensively, offensive line. I like them to win the division. I think the Texans are very beatable, and I think this is a division where anything is up for grabs, right? 7.5 win total. I would look over, PJ. So we'll have to keep these clips here, and then at the end of the year, which either of us are correct, we can do a little victory lap. But I'm hoping, and maybe this is just more me being hopeful versus like actual evidence showing that this is where this team is going. But I like Liam Cohen. I like Trevor Lawrence with Liam Cohen, and I like the weapons that he has offensively. I think this could be at least an offense that scores fairly well each and every week.
Kate, another problem I have with the Jags, too, is the start to their schedule is pretty difficult. So they open week 1 against Carolina, who are kind of like similar teams, I think, in a sense, right? Where it's like Bryce Young, very much like Trevor Lawrence, have terrible rookie years, former number 1 overall picks. They show flashes. Like Trevor had that great stretch where they won the division. He was playing great football. Everybody thought he was going to turn into the guy that a lot of people thought he would be in the NFL. That's kind of like where Bryce Young is headed right now. Like he's going to continue that momentum or he's going to fall back. So I'm really excited for that week 1 game. After that, though, at Cincy, home against Houston, at San Francisco, home against the Chiefs, home against the Seahawks, and then you have to play the Rams out in London before your bye week. So that's a tough stretch, Kate, for the Jags, who obviously have a rookie head coach, who have a quarterback that, I mean, needs to have a good season. I just worry, like, if the Jags get off to a slow start, which they have been very prone to do in the Lawrence era, when you head to that week 8 bye week, I just worry about things unraveling a little bit. Now, because the division is so bad, I mean, the Jags could be sitting there at, like, 2-5, 3-4, and they could very much be in it in the AFC South, which is probably the other side of it. I just worry about that start to their schedule because after that bye week, Kate, the schedule really does open up. There are a lot of winnable games. I think that start for Jacksonville, though, with a rookie head coach, even if they get off to a slow start, it's going to be important that they like keep at it because, again, the division is so bad. Even if they are 3-4, 2-5 going into the bye week, they still definitely have a chance to win that division. But that start to that schedule is just another thing that worries me too. You know, Lawrence coming back from injury. They're trying to work in some of these new guys on offense. We both talked about the defense we're concerned about. I worry about the Jags getting off to a little bit of a slow start. So maybe if you like them to win the division, I mean, plus 310 is a great price, but they could get off to a slow start. You could get an even better number going into their bye week, and they could still have a great chance to win the AFC South.
That's what I was going to ask you. If you're someone like me who likes them for the division, would you wait and bet them? And that makes a whole lot of sense because you're right. Going to Cincinnati, that's going to be tough to top that offense there. San Francisco, that team's great. I mean, the Chiefs, obviously, we know what they are. So, yeah, that is probably the right move to wait and bet the Jags a little bit later in the season after they more than likely have a few losses through those first 7 weeks of the year. Travis Hunter yesterday, PJ, or Saturday, played a little on both sides of the ball. I think it's going to be tough for him to do consistently throughout the year. Like, I think the Jaguars need to pick a side, and I think that would be wide receiver and not have him play both sides. Like, the more wear and tear on him, the more likely injuries happen for him. Like, where are you on this whole Travis Hunter playing on both sides thing?
So obviously, the comp would be Ohtani in baseball, right? A guy who's been able to hit and pitch. But, Kate, like, I don't think what we're talking about enough is that Ohtani is truly one of the greatest baseball players ever. He's getting ready to win his 4th MVP. The only guy that's ever done that is Barry Bonds. So, for Travis Hunter to do both things at the NFL level, to play offense and defense, like, you're talking about him being maybe one of the greatest football players ever. And maybe there are some people that think he could be that. I don't think he's going to be one of the greatest football players ever, but again, he's not the biggest guy, and you're playing a much longer season than you were in college. The NFL players are obviously much bigger, faster, stronger. It's a much more physical game. There are going to be more snaps, all these kinds of things. So I think that we come into the season with this idea. We're hoping the Jags probably, when they traded up, we're hoping they could play him on both sides of the ball, but I think realistically, especially when we get deeper into the season, like it's primarily going to be on offense. They're going to pick and choose their spots when they play Hunter on defense. And maybe if just the injuries rack up in the secondary, they have to adjust certain things. But again, like for all these people that think he's going to be able to play on both sides of the ball, I mean, for him to do that, like you're talking about him becoming one of the greatest players like ever. I mean, this just doesn't happen. So I just can't foresee it happening for a while. I hope he can do it because it would be incredible to see. And obviously he was able to do it in college, but I just don't think he'll be able to do it in the NFL. I think he's primarily going to be a receiver. And I think that's the big reason why they drafted him that high, was because they did see him as a dominant receiver. And again, they're invested in Lawrence. They get Liam Cohen in the offseason. You know you have a great receiver in Brian Thomas. So they are doing everything they can to help Trevor Lawrence end that offense. But, Kate, if you ask me, I really think, like, if he stays healthy the whole season, what is the percentage going to be between offense and defense? Like, I really think it's going to end up being like 80-85% offense would be my guess. I don't buy like this 70-30, 60-40. Like, I think it's going to be heavy offensive snaps, especially when we get later into the season.